There's a moment when your heart whispers, enough. When dreams stop feeling like promises and start feeling like pain. That moment came for Daniel on a rainy Tuesday morning. He sat at the edge of his bed, the laptop glow painting tired shadows on his face. The proposal he'd been working on, half finished, untouched for days, stared back like a quiet accusation. Outside, raindrops slid down the window. Inside, silence grew heavier than thunder. Daniel rubbed his eyes and whispered, "Maybe I'm just not meant to make it." He didn't shout. He didn't cry. He simply stopped. And that's the dangerous kind of breaking. The kind you don't notice until it's too late. Pause. Soft piano enters. That morning, Daniel didn't lose a project. He lost belief. And that's where our story begins. A few years earlier, Daniel had been unstoppable. He dreamed big, spoke boldly, and believed he could build something that mattered. In college, he was the guy with ideas. He'd rally friends for late-night brainstorming sessions, pitch wild startups to professors, and talk about changing the world. People admired him, not because he had everything figured out, but because he believed he could. But belief is fragile. His first startup collapsed. Then the second, investors disappeared. Partners quit. And each time, a small piece of Daniel's confidence went missing. He told himself it was fine, that failure was part of the journey. But deep down, each loss carved a quiet scar. After a while, he stopped talking about his dreams. Stopped showing up to meetups. Stopped trying. He found a safe job. Steady pay. Predictable life. No risk. No fire. At first, it felt like relief. But comfort, when it's born from fear, slowly becomes a cage. Every night, he'd scroll through social media, watching old friends chase the very dreams he'd abandoned. It wasn't envy he felt. It was grief for the person he used to be. Fear doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, quietly convincing you to settle. For Daniel, it started with small choices. A call he didn't return, a meeting he skipped, a chance he turned down. Each one felt harmless. But together, they built walls around his life. One day, his boss called him in. The project he'd been managing was falling apart. Deadlines missed. Team demotivated. His boss was kind, but Daniel could hear the disappointment buried in every word. After the meeting, he sat in his car for an hour, engine off, staring at the dashboard. He thought about quitting. Again. When he got home that night, he found an old photo, him and his college friends at their first business pitch. Smiling, hopeful, fearless, he barely recognized himself, and in that moment, he realized something painful. He hadn't just failed a few projects. He'd failed himself. He wasn't living. He was hiding. And fear was winning. Music swells softly. Tension builds. Change doesn't always arrive with a plan. Sometimes it comes disguised as a simple message. One evening, Daniel got a text from Sarah, a college friend he hadn't spoken to in years. "Hey," she wrote. "We're hosting a small entrepreneurship event next week. Would you share your story?" Daniel laughed out loud. "Story? I don't have a success story." But Sarah replied, "Then tell them the real one. People need to hear that." Her words hit something deep. For years, Daniel had been silent about his failures, ashamed of them. But now someone wanted him to share them. He hesitated for days. Every part of him screamed, "Don't do it!" But something small, maybe curiosity, maybe courage, and whispered, "What if you did?" So he said yes. The night of the event, Daniel stood backstage, hands shaking, heart pounding, every failure of his life flashing before his eyes. He thought about running. He even reached for the exit. And that's when he saw an older man, a janitor, quietly cleaning tables. The man looked up and smiled. "Nervous, huh?" Daniel chuckled weakly. "You could say that." "I don't belong here." The janitor paused, then said, "Son, nobody belongs anywhere until they decide they do." Daniel froze. The old man leaned closer, his voice calm and certain. You afraid of failing? Daniel nodded. Then fail, the man said softly. But fail trying. That's the only kind of failure worth living with. Those words stuck in Daniel's chest like fire. Minutes later, he stepped onto the stage. Bright lights. Silent crowd. His voice trembled. I used to be afraid of failing, he began. Actually, I still am. The audience leaned in. But what I've learned, he continued, is that fear doesn't disappear when you hide from it. It disappears when you face it. He told his story. The failures, the doubts, the loneliness. He didn't sound perfect. He sounded real. When he finished, there was silence. And then, applause. Not polite applause. Heartfelt, honest, healing. After that night, Daniel didn't suddenly become fearless. He still had doubts, still stumbled, but something inside him had changed. He started a new project, small, steady, genuine. He no longer chased success. He chased growth. Every day he did one small thing that scared him. A phone call, a pitch, a risk. He failed, often. But each time, it hurt less. Because now he understood something powerful. Fear doesn't leave you when you win. It leaves you when you stop letting it decide. One night, Daniel sat by his window again. The rain was back. Same sound, same rhythm. But this time he smiled. He realized the fear of failure had never been the real enemy. The real enemy was the pause, the moments he let fear stop him from moving forward. Failure didn't destroy him. Standing still did. He learned that courage isn't loud. It doesn't shout or roar. Sometimes courage is just a quiet whisper that says, try again tomorrow. Maybe you've failed too. Maybe you've stopped trying because it hurt too much the last time. But remember this. You don't have to be fearless to begin again. You just have to take one small step, even while fear walks beside you, because fear only controls those who stop moving. So today, take your step. Call that person. Start that idea. Try that thing again. You might fail. You might fall, but you'll fail trying. And that's the kind of failure that builds a new life. Music fades. Soft pause. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And remember, your story isn't over yet. It's just waiting for its next chapter.